Okay, here we go again for the 15th time. I have Parkinsonism disease, which is a direct result of canola oil and no pollution controls and toxic chemicals, air, food, and water, put it simply. I'm 75 years old, and I started to cripple and paralyze at the age of 6. And I spent my whole life trying to save children from the brutal torture that I endured. I succeeded at the age of 70. I had exactly 1 year. My body was fabulous. And if you look up on YouTube some of my ski videos, they should still be around 200 years from now, because that's, thank God for YouTube and Google. You will see that I'm telling you the truth. But unfortunately, 2 years ago, I developed a fat cell tumor, and it's done extensive nerve damage. And I was swindled out of my home and money by my common-law husband's brother, Doug McIsaac. And I am going to have to shut down my websites. My websites have to be paid. So they'll be there for 1 year, but I've got 66 years of research, and if I don't get it up onto YouTube, I may lose it all. And I only lived for one reason, and that was to save the children from going through what I went through, if not now, 200 years from now. So what I'm attempting to do is to give you a lecture in the sense of a lecture, not meaning to give you hell, but to tell you the truth of what's really going on. This is 2016, October. And canola was banned in the United States because originally it's from rape, R-A-P-E, rape seed, and it's extremely poisonous. It has extremely deadly toxic chemicals. Uric acid is only one of them. And Monsanto has just been purchased by Bayer because they've got such a bad name. And Health Canada has been on the take to Monsanto for the last 50 years. And canola means Canada oil. And now they've been purchased by Bayer, which is a really nice company made from, a nice natural leaf, and they have a really good name. And Monsanto's bad name will soon disappear because it'll be in the name of Bayer. So by the time some of this comes out, it'll be too late. What you can do is that there are ways to control it and to reverse it. And that's what I attempted to do, and I succeeded. So I want to share that with the world so that you have it. Now, I'm going to jump down to what's important. Never mind my story. Yes, it's interesting, but you're not really going to be interested in that. You're going to be much more interested in what to do and the diet. And you'll have to bear with me because I'm going onto my site and I'm taking the information and I'm reading it off to you. Now, I had severe memory loss, couldn't read or write. And okra, I call it Trudi's Okra Diet because okra was the main ingredient. Now, I recently found out some people had a reaction to okra. Well, I'm not sure if the reaction was because it was fresh, because fresh, there is no such thing. This is northern Canada. And by the time it comes from God knows where, Africa and California, whatever, there's already mold developing on it. I suggest you only use frozen okra. In fact, I suggest that for all fruit, organic, wherever possible. Because by the time it arrives here, it's already going rotten and toxic. And there are some countries that I will not eat anything from because they have eggs in them and spiders and bugs that are killing people. And we're importing from all over the world, and we've got no controls, and we've got stuff made in China that's coming with lead on it in paint and in the dishes, and children are getting poisoned again. I mean, this is 2016 and we're going backwards. We had laws in the 60s and they're all gone. So anyway, my mother also had brain seizures and lost her memory, and the system I used is on her as well. And the only reason she's dying now is because of clindamycin, an antibiotic. And that's really her fault because she took something without checking with me. So I make sure today that I have no family doctor. I use clinics. I try to take control of my own body. I'll go to Emerge if I have to, but I call the shots, and they have to question me and have to ask me, and they have to talk to me. And I decide what goes in my body. I suggest you do the same. But nobody controls my body but me, except I can be conned, and I mean, you know, you trust people, and yes, that's the situation. And please don't care. Now here are the main system that I use. Now the first two items took me a lifetime to discover. The number one is okra. And like I said, it should be frozen and never cook it. Cooking it may be okay for heart disease and whatever. Dr. Pavio said it is, but I don't know that for sure. All I can tell you is that frozen a couple a day, and it will, it's almost like an amphetamine. It does something to your brain, it rejuvenates it, and you start to regain memory. And I had lost my memory for 22 years, so I'm talking about a long time. And red Swiss chard, half a cup cooked, and it must be cooked. Don't ask me why, it's just that it makes a difference. And it detoxifies your organs and takes poison out of your body. Now, all you need is a couple of raw okra a day. Just let them thaw out. And red Swiss chard, half a cup a week. Or in the early stages, if you're really sick, I suggest every day 1 spoon. It detoxifies the liver, the gallbladder, the kidneys. I add apple cider vinegar to all meals. Make sure it's a good product. Organic's okay, except it goes bad fast. I use Heinz. I don't know if they're still available wherever you are. Organic vegetables and fruits as much as possible. Clean with a good garden wash before eating. Raw does not detox in the case of red Swiss chard. Now, there is talk that some health advocates are talking about fennel helps to reduce fat cells. Well, why not? I don't know if it works or not, but it doesn't hurt to put it into your diet. I like it raw and or cooked. It doesn't matter. And I also use odorless garlic pills. Do not use the pills that are oil, capsule, because they're very toxic. And they can give you an upset stomach. Garlic in itself can be very toxic. It's got chemicals in it that can burn the lining out of your stomach if you eat too much. But I did find Nature's Bounty, which is an odorless garlic pill, and it's less toxic. I've taken up as much as a whole bottle a day. I'm not saying you should do that. I'm just saying I do research and I use my body as a guinea pig. And because I have chronic immune deficiencies and chemically hypersensitive, and my brain and my body doesn't function in a normal way, I infect very quickly. I was on antibiotics 4 or 5 times a year with chronic bronchitis and lung infections. A simple little cold virus becomes an infection. So I start my day with 3-4 garlic pills, again at lunch, again at supper, and again at night. And in the middle of the night I wake up, I can't breathe, I'm all full of phlegm. I throw back some garlic pills with distilled water, by the way, no tap water, it must be distilled. If you're completely allergic to the garlic and can't do, well, then there is a product in the United States called IP6 with inositol. It's extremely constipating, but it did work. So you take it with salad and high fiber, and it might help you stay off antibiotics. As a mouthwash with peroxide, keep it simple. Wash your hands immediately after being out in public. I use a germ killer non-soap product because soap gives me sores, and I had psoriasis all over my head. And for my hair, I have to use Head and Shoulders. I don't know if it's available where you are, but I can't use soap. And I bath in olive oil and almond oil or apple cider vinegar. and I soak in that, and I never, ever, ever, ever use soap, because I had sores all over my body, and with psoriasis, and they were bleeding, and the pain and the agony, and it was because of soap. And that's when you're chemically hypersensitive, okay? You've now got an endangered immune system. Your life is going to be really brutal, because mine certainly was. But if you know that when you're young and happen to have parents that care, well, maybe you can avoid going through what I went through. And for a sore throat, before you go to a clinic or you go to a doctor, too quick, open up with a flashlight, and if you see white lines, okay, quick, get to a doctor. But if it's just red, well, try 3 spoons of salt. This is an old German recipe. A half a cup of white vinegar, a quarter of a cup of white vinegar, do not swallow, and in a cup of distilled water, and gargle. Do not drink it. And if you can't get distilled, know how, then you boil the water first, but use a fan in front of a window, because the chlorine in the tap water is toxic. And for those of us with immune deficiencies, we're going to take attacks, and we won't know why. Now, you should also know that all these things cause cancer and Alzheimer's and brain damage and a whole bunch of diseases, all right? So don't think just because you're well today that it's not going to happen. Nobody's getting off the planet alive. So what I'm talking about, though, is really for 200 years from now, because my generation and the children coming up don't give a damn. But every child 200 years from now will be like me. So I went through horrifying paralysis attacks, and I never knew it was the water. Now, blue cheese, Rosenberg, is one that's still around, is natural antibiotic. No calcium chloride, that's a salt, and avoid salt at all costs, unless it's with small measures and in sea salt, because the high levels cause heart disease and kidney disease. Now, my MSA gas mask, I'm going to show you. Nobody should be walking around in toxic hydrocarbons, gas, oil, and diesel, and driving without a gas mask. Now, I was in the bubble for many years, and it was very heavy, and it was very uncomfortable. This, very lightweight. It's the newest one. MSA in Pittsburgh were kind enough to donate their masks to me so that I could test them, and my body's like a light bulb. If there's anything coming in, bang, I take an attack like that. And pain is like being electrocuted through every molecule of my body, and I'm living with dying. That is not what you want to do. And so if it didn't work, I would know. And this is extremely light. My other one was heavier, and it was metal. I still love it, don't get me wrong. But this one is called the Advantage. And I get the top of the line filters. And the neat thing about them is, even if they get, as you use it, it actually gets to filter even more. You have to use it. And I made a little mask covering it. Okay, it's from a fabric store. And it stretches. And you just put your mouth to it, and if you can breathe through it, it's a vinyl, but it'll protect your filter from being destroyed by rain and moisture. And I ski with it and everything. And they last a really long time if you're not working in a smelter or painting or something like that. But if you are, well, the point is that it'll not just save your life. What you people don't get is that you're passing genetic dysfunctions and predisposition to chemical hypersensitivities and addictions to your children. By the shit that you take in, you're passing genetic mutations to your children. So yes, get a gas mask. Don't be so dumb. It's not that expensive. It's about $100. And, there's no excuse not to use it. If you don't like the way it listen, I've danced in crutches in a gas mask, and I'm proud of it. What the hell? Okay, so it's a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful mask. Now, the next item on my list is olive oil. I consider it the best for everything. Now, there is a mustard oil in India that's really quite nice. I haven't tried it. I don't know. It certainly hasn't done them any harm, and it's apparently really wonderful. Coconut oil is really wonderful. It just so happens that I'm not crazy about the taste, and I'm not sure that if you're fat, that coconut oil is a good idea. I think olive oil is better. But you must have yogurt every day, or kefir. And don't tell me you're lactose intolerant. There is goat's milk yogurt, no fat, and you can get that, and it got to be organic. It keeps your bowel healthy. It stops and controls yeast infections. And without it, you're not going to survive healthy. You're going to get cancer for sure. And now I'm going to talk about metabolic breakdown. Anybody who has any disease, you should be on a metabolic breakdown diet, which means you simply take your food groups and separate them. Now, ideally, you have your fruit in the morning, and you have your carbohydrates at lunch. Somewhere in between, the 3 hours apart from food, you have your vegetables, and then later you have your evening and supper meal until midnight or 2 in the morning, whatever, I don't care. Protein. Now, yogurt can be considered a protein, but it happens to be the one thing, because of the bacteria cultures in it, it'll go with fruit, it'll go with vegetables, it'll go with carbs, it'll go with everything. And because my system is completely abnormal, I cannot eat. I don't sleep. I'm in pain. I have flashback nightmares. My life has been a holocaust. And when I finally go to sleep, everything shuts down. My body does not naturally detox. I have to make it work. So when I actually wake up, I'm very, very ill. I'm in terrible pain. I can hardly move. I can barely talk. I can't read and write with comprehension. That's why it was easy for Doug McIsaac to take advantage of me, because I'm like a 5-year-old child, and he knew that. And he will rot in hell for what he's put me through. But in the meantime, I can't eat all day. I have a teaspoon of decaf coffee with honey, and that's it. And maybe at 4 o'clock if I can, an organic apple, but if not, I just eat later in the day. But I try to start with the organic apple, and then I'll have my protein or my vegetables or something like that. And then I eat through the night later on. And I get the food in me. And I used to be about 100 pounds because I was living with starving to death, because I couldn't eat. Every time I ate, I went into convulsions. And it was because of the poison that was in the food and the pesticides, etc. So yogurt is really, really important. And for all those health advocates that talk about eating fermented foods, excuse me, sauerkraut is full of salt. I don't think that's healthy. You've got to wash it all out, and if you wash it all out, all the bacteria has gone down the drain. So keep it simple. Yogurt. That's the best way to go. Or kefir. And don't forget, goat's milk is completely free of lactose. You're not going to have a problem with that one. No white sugar whatsoever. Substitute with honey. Got a sweet tooth? Well, organic dates are wonderful with no sulfites. At first I didn't like them, but I got used to them, and truthfully, when I go for a walk, or I well enough to go skiing, I have to get out in the cold weather. That's the only time the bugs are asleep and I can actually breathe. And that's the only time I can build up my muscles, which right now I haven't been able to do for 2 years because of the tumor on my legs. But the point I'm trying to make to you is that you can carry dates with you, and it can be a little pick-me-up. And I do carry distilled water with me as well. And even though it's winter conditions, I put it in an insulated container, and there are plastic that's non-toxic, or you can put it in glass because it's not going to freeze. You're only going to be out there a couple hours. It's not going to freeze. You know, there are ways to get something sweetened, and personally I just use honey for everything. When I do have meat, like such as pork, organic pork, I put honey on it. Honey and a bit of vinegar. I happen to like that. But, you know, you got to have some carbs. Now, apple cider vinegar is extremely healthy, and it's good for your blood. Not white. White is very toxic. White is very good for cleaning and kills germs in the kitchen counters and along with baking soda. For me, the brand that I use is Heinz. I found organic went bad too fast, and the no-name brands made me sick. So you kind of have to find out for yourself, which is good. I don't use any wine vinegars. I can't risk it. I'm chemically intolerant, and alcohol nearly killed me, so can't even go there. No toxic cleaners, no bleach, no ammonia, hair dyes, whatever. Come on, people. Throw them out. And they would be more available, non-toxic cleaners, if you weren't so willing to spend your money to poison yourself. So that's it. Out they go. No stripped carbohydrates. No white bread, no white pasta, no white nothing. Use high fiber, natural brown rice, multigrain pasta. Rudolph here in Ontario is the only sourdough bread that's safe because they follow German law. That's number one. And they put everything on the label, and their sourdough has no oil and therefore has no canola oil and no toxic stuff in it. But even the organic, what are they doing? They're using rape, R-A-P-E. Excuse me, that stuff is poison. Don't tell me the Chinese ate it for 100,000 years. I don't care what the Chinese did for 100,000 years. I'm not going to look at the Chinese in China as being my epitome of great bodies that I'm dying to be like. That's not a solution. Stuff is garbage. It's a weed. Nazis developed it in the First World War in place of diesel. And I'm not sure that in place of diesel it's just as toxic as diesel. Anyway, there absolutely no way, Jose, can you eat that garbage. Now, people with colitis and gluten intolerance, you're going to have to do some testing yourself. My recommendation is to detox. Detox should take at least 5 days. And I've got another website, and I'll do that on a separate video on a safest way to detox. But at least for the first couple of days, you just go vegetarian organic, that's it, and okra and red Swiss chard. And then you start to slowly put food back into your system, one at a time, and then you'll find what really you're tolerant to. Now, once upon a time, there were restaurants I could eat in safely, but that doesn't exist anymore. This is 2016. New York was safe until 1994 because canola and rapeseed was banned in the U.S. and parts of Europe. And MSG was also banned in all restaurants in New York City. So the last time I was there in 1989, I was in food heaven. Today it's safer for me not to eat other people's food and never go into a restaurant. That's all. I used to love to invite a friend over to dine at home with me, but now I don't have a home anymore, and I don't have space to do anything like that. Haven't had a home in 30 years, so, you know, those days are gone. But if you have, it's kind of a nice thing to do. Trapped I am the way I am by my disease, and cruel people like my father and my brother and Doug McIsaac. I'm trapped. Okay, fennel, cooked or raw. It will help to detox bad fat from your cells, and it's a good weight loss companion to any meal. Okay, that's one of the things that I did manage to prove. I used my common-law husband, Dan, as a guinea pig, and it worked, amongst other things. Like I say, that's another website. I'll have to do that another time. Frozen vegetables and fruit have more vitamin C and nutrients than anything that's imported via a truck from a long distance away. So the longer it's exposed to the air, the quicker they lose their nutritional values. I do not buy fresh produce grown in Sudbury, because this is the sewer hole of the planet, and our ground is full of arsenic and pollutants from the smelters. So all of our 300 lakes are contaminated, so I don't eat any fish from here. If I go about an hour's drive, I can go to there are some farmers that I can trust that don't use pesticides. I recommend you explore your area, make it a family affair. Ostracize, I do not have family, and my new friends are all younger and still working, so I have to go it alone. And now I can't do it at all for the last few years because I'm just too sick. Water is vital, but there are two kinds of minerals. One is from water, and it is not biodegradable for the human species. The minerals in it are microscopic rocks, and you're not a plant. So guess what? Not healthy. Metallic and rock minerals can cause kidney damage, brain damage, such as Alzheimer's, and never go 5 hours without water. Okay, I did and went into heart failure. I didn't know that dehydration causes the potassium to be released from our cells into the blood at a highly elevated level. The next stage is angina and then a heart attack. So one little shot glass of water every 5 hours if you're out and about, and like I forget to do things because it's so hard for me to get anywhere and to do anything. So like I say, that's really important. Yeah, everybody talks about dehydration, but nobody told me why. I've been hearing about it for the last 50 years, but I didn't know why it was important. Well, I went into heart failure and found out. So I'm sharing that little tidbit with you. And all it takes is a shot glass. You don't need a lot. This business of walking around with bottles, cripes, I'd be peeing from Nano China. I can't do that. If you can do it, fine, but I don't think it's good for your bladder anyway. That's too much. Now, and it is important if you're especially stressed. Now, when I'm out sociably and at a Legion or at a dance, and they've got good air conditioning and it's not too crowded, because if it's too crowded I'm going to take an attack if I stay too long, because all the perfumes and the body soaps and aftershaves and all that ammonia in their hair dyes. Oh, you women are so dumb. You're giving yourself cancer to dye your hair. There are products available where you can dye your hair without ammonia, Jeez. And it should be banned, but it'll never get banned. All you have to do is boycott it and they'll produce them. Anyway, when I'm dancing, I will drink spring water, okay? But I'm only going to have 1 or 1.5. And then when I get home, I flush out with distilled water. So it's not going to do me any harm. And dancing or cross-country skiing is the world's best exercise. Some of you, you like these gyms in your home, or maybe you can exercise watching television. I can't do that. That depresses me no end. I have a disease that traps me. I want to get the hell out, and I want to be in fresh air. And if I can go dancing where it's not too crowded and it's got good air conditioning, well, good air conditioning, the air is filtered. So I'm getting clean air, My body's detoxing, and I'm dancing, and I'm getting music. And if I don't care what condition I'm in or how much pain I get in dressed. Listen, sometimes I wear a gown to go shopping. I don't care. Whatever it takes to make me feel good about myself. I don't like looking at myself and looking ugly. Why should I? So I camouflage it with colored glasses and a cute little hat and nice bright colors. And they say, oh, you don't look 75. Yeah, well, I am 75 and I feel 75, but, I don't have to look at it. And I don't do it for you. I do it for me. And cross-country, you can't ever get better than cross-country because you're using your whole body totally. And you're not going to get that from downhill. You're going to stand in a stupid lineup, you're going to get on a stupid chair, and then you're going to go down. I mean, that's not the same. You're not using your whole body. But when you're climbing that hill, like that one year I was able to almost run up 2,000 feet on a mountain. It was wonderful. I had strived for that since I was 6 years old. And I had 1 year. And I'm working towards getting it again, and probably not going to happen, but at least I'm trying. I don't give in. And I had hoped that after 32 years of not having a home, that when my mother died, I was forced to give up everything to take care of her because my brother stole her properties. And then Doug robbed me of that one little dream I had, that when she died I could get a home. But that's gone. I'll never have my own home. But I'm not giving up. I'm doing this for your children and your children's children and your children's children. And even if you don't care, I do. I don't want them to suffer as I have. Anyway, I had that 1 year, so it's proof that this program works. I ran up that hill, and my legs were like a young German skier that I used to know, that I envied. And I'd watch him zoom by me, and I just 1 hour of one day if I could feel like that. And I had a whole ski season, 1 whole year. And then it crashed with the tumor. Yeah, the creator of the universe hasn't been very kind to me. And by the way, I do want to speak about that. I don't care what your religion is. It doesn't interest me. I won't pray to anything born on the planet. I'll pray to only the creator of the universe, which I think made a lot of mistakes with this planet and with the human species in particular, because I think we're psychotic at the best of times. Who else but humans poison themselves and their children and don't give a shit? The omega worm doesn't do that. Poisons itself, regurgitates, and then sends a genetic signal to all its offspring, so they'll never do it. We're not that smart. Okay, after you've detoxed with an organic, at least 3 weeks to a month, no meat, okay? Clean out your body. You start with chicken, organic, prime grain fed or free range, whatever. I use skinless, boneless, and I make a soup with it with vegetables and carrots and onions and red Swiss chard and broccoli and fennel. I happen to love Arabic, Indian, Italian, Spanish, and Mediterranean foods and their spices, but I'm allergic to ginger. I also adore their dances and their music. And because I choose not to engage in any religious nonsense, I love everybody and all the cultures. The only thing I don't love is any culture that is man-made, that gives them the right to rape and abuse their wives and their children. Now, there are cultures that do that. Don't blame it on the religion, and don't blame the murdering and the brutality on the Muslim religion. The religion itself is not what's advocating brutality. It's men who twist the words of Muhammad. And the same with Hindu. The Hindu religion, it's been twisted by men, forcing young 7-8-year-old girls to marry men 80, and then putting them out in the streets when the men die, as prostitutes. That's culture. That was created by men. The same as there are religions in the United States that are using women as sex objects and calling it Christian. There's nothing Christian about that. So I don't even go there. I don't care what your religion is. You don't abuse women and children. And there are women that also are guilty of doing the same thing. That's a violation of morality. And that's cultural. It has nothing to do with religion. No religion teaches you to do that shit. That's just cultural and mostly taught by men, and in some cases women as well. And I don't support any of that. But I'm not in a position to cook or learn how to cook, but I have wonderful memories of my Mediterranean people and doing the belly dance with the Arabs and eating their food, and doing the belly dance with the East Indians and eating their food, and the Greeks dancing with them and eating their food. And not once did I ever get poisoned. Not once with them did I ever get sick. And they treated me better than anybody in my family or any of my friends or any of my boyfriends other than my current one, my common law husband, Dan. They treated me better than anybody ever did on the planet. And I was nobody to them. Okay? I was nobody to them. And the Japanese, and they treated me well, but I had trouble with Japanese food. A lot of it made me sick. So you find your own way. Anyway, because I have so many intolerances and I'm not such a great cook, I don't have time. I'm too sick and in too much pain and too crippled all the time to become a fantastic cook. So what I do is to duplicate them the best I can is I stick to red cayenne pepper and garlic and no salt and dillweed and parsley and curry. Now curry, it took me over 30 years to discover curry means gravy. No wonder I cannot replicate and duplicate the wonderful curry dish that my East Indian clients used to feed me. Oh God, I've never been able to get that flavor, and I tried everything in the markets, and there's no way. I'm just not a good enough cook, can't do it. But anyway, that's why I couldn't do it. And nothing in a bottle will duplicate. Because from every region, each family recipe is different, and they use different spices. In other words, it's gravy. It means gravy. Well, that's not the recipe for the gravy. So just let you know that little tidbit, because I spent an awful lot of time in books and trying and never succeeding, and that's why. Now, regarding traffic fumes, again, I just have to point out to you, there's nothing that you're breathing that's healthy. It's not carrot juice, okay, people? It's poison. So, no white carbohydrates ever. Just to bottom line it. Otherwise put in whatever you please. If you're really sick, I suggest be vegetarian for a month, but if you just want to do it for 3 days and then as a quick fix at night, if you're in traffic fumes and you do feel a little bit toxic, here's what I do. I have potatoes, olive oil, plain 0-fat yogurt, and 6 okra. It'll flush out some of the gas or the diesel fumes, and the potatoes act like a sponge. So if I got stuck in traffic, and especially school buses and diesel, they're the worst. Second to that would be propane, and third would be gas. Gas dissipates in air quicker. Diesel is heavy, it stays closer to the ground, and it's the most toxic of all, other than lead. And by the way, yes, we're getting lead poisoning now to our children because we're bringing in products from China and elsewhere, and we're back to not following our laws that we brought in the 60s. So children's toys and paint and dishes, they've got lead poisoning in them. So just be aware. But my gas mask keeps the fumes from getting into my lungs, but it doesn't stop them from getting on my clothes. So if you're in really bad, you should take your clothes off and throw them in the dryer with a non-toxic, something. Don't use fabric softeners, please. That's so toxic. No scents, please. Toxic. And get the fumes out. And if that doesn't work, well, then you better wash them in baking soda and get the fumes out of your clothes. Because I see, the mechanics are the worst. They just don't have a clue. Macho guys, God bless them, but my Jesus, they have no idea what they're doing to their bodies, their brains. And here's the thing: you think just because you don't notice that you're being poisoned, you are passing a genetic predisposition to your children, who will pass it to your grandchildren and your great-grandchildren and your great-grandchildren. So, you don't think it's happening? Yeah, it's happening. Because that's what my mother and father did to me. And if I blow my nose, it's because I'm sitting here in dust. And although my immune system is stronger, I'm not in the bubble anymore. I need to take a break soon because I haven't had my water for quite a few hours. Anyway, on to detox with potatoes, olive, yogurt, and 6 okra. Now, auto executives should be in jail. Do you realize how easy it would be for them to keep the fumes out of our car? A little activated charcoal dust filter in the dash costs about $10 for the parts while it's on the assembly line. It's just so easy to stop fumes from invading your car, yet nobody cares. God, they make me sick. Stupid, stupid, stupid people. And we're the idiots because we're paying $30,000 in 2016 and plus that and more to poison ourselves. On top of that, why are we all so dumb that we let them get away with this shit? Toyota does have an air filter, but even they are just as dumb. Who needs cold air forced in, outside air, in the middle of winter to go through your heater to blow at you and bring in toxic fumes? Why can't you be operating inside air onto your heater? No. Idiots. And so to use your defrost, you got to use outside air. So it's outside air, goes through your heater, and then back through your defrost and onto your window, and you're bringing in fumes. How stupid is that? Stupid, 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 stupid. And in the summer, same thing. Outside air, because sometimes, it's raining and it's foggy, and everything fogs up, so you got to put the defrost on. You put the defrost on, automatically you got outside air and toxic fumes. Idiots. And we're the idiots because we buy the damn vehicles and we don't complain. So, we are what we eat, and we get the government we deserve, as an American once said to me, and it's true. Yet nobody cares. Okay. So it could be changed so easily, it would cost absolutely nothing. But no, let's keep having chronic illness and turn us into legal drug addicts. Because that's what we're doing. We're doing a good job of it too. Okay, so wear a gas mask. That's all I can tell you. Grain-fed veal. After you've detoxed and you've been vegetarian for a few weeks and you've had your chicken, now you can try the grain-fed veal, providing you're not sick, if you really feel like healthy and you're having a recovery. Stay off steak and beef entirely. They're too hard to digest, they cause gout, and it is definitely not healthy. And it's got to be organic. Now, beef, yes, 3 times a year I break the rule and I go and I get the best of the beef money can buy, and it's beef tenderloin, which has got 0 fat on it, and it doesn't matter if I burnt it, it would still be tender. So I'm not saying that, but we're talking 3 times a year, people. We're not talking enough that it's going to do me any harm. But it is a main cause of gout and many forms of arthritis, strokes, and heart disease. Lamb or sheep is best. Arabs have a very healthy, mainly vegetarian diet in this regard, and they are to be applauded for it. Pork, grain-fed, no antibiotics or drugs. Pork has less fat on it, and it'll do your heart less damage, providing you don't eat the pork fat and you don't eat bacon. Okay, fish. No cod or sucker fish of any kind. They're full of toxins. That means no tuna either, because they're too big. No big fish, because they're too full of toxins. Pickerel, rainbow trout, bass if available, Arctic char, now on the endangered species list. Smaller fish have less exposure to our pollutants that we dump. Pike make me sick, and I nearly died in cod. Sardines and any oil but canola is okay. Seafood is very hard to digest. Best to avoid until you're really well. Scallops, frozen. Some from the East Coast are very small, very expensive, cook very fast and sweeter in flavor. But I think it'll go extinct soon. We'll probably wind up with farm scallops. I buy frozen cooked jumbo shrimp, peeled and veined. And then I thaw them. I throw them in quick boiling, in boiling water, like really boiling water, and I throw it in. That's just to kill any bacteria they may contain. And lobster I treat as shrimp. I don't buy raw just because I'm scared. I don't want to take a chance. It's as simple as that. I can't be sure where it's coming from, but at least if it's frozen there on the spot. The same with fruits and vegetables. It's frozen on the spot. So I have a much better chance of it being safe, unless you're allergic. and I'm not. No, the only reason I have a problem with the fish is because they're full of poison. The sucker fish are full of poison. That's why they make me sick. It's an intolerance rather than an allergy, but it'll still kill me either way. There's a lot of misconceptions about the difference between an allergy and an intolerance. Chemical hypersensitivity is an endangered, is damaged immune system, and an allergy is also a damaged immune system. So they're really basically at the bottom and the end of the line, the same. They'll kill you. No tuna or large fish, they're too heavily polluted. Stick to fresh if available, only small fish like clarideans. So I try to eat fish more than once a month, but it's hard for me to digest it. I smell oil in my pee, and I don't know, it's hard. So my mother eats rainbow trout once a week, and I certainly recommend it. Eggs. Forget about omega-3, that's bullshit. Organic or free range. I still cannot digest eggs well, so I have to take 2 Senecot with every meal, so it's, I don't know that I have it long enough for me to be getting any real protein. It's kind of going through me in one end and out the other. And the same with bananas. Oh God, bananas are even worse. I might as well eat cement. They block me so bad, and then I bleed for 5 days. So much for that. The idea is that, you know, if you have chronic illness, what you do is you treat all foods as being like toxic to you, and you have to discover for yourself which foods are okay for you. So what you do is you take, after you've detoxed and gone vegetarian, then you take one food at a time and you put it into your diet, and if you tolerate it well, then you put a second one in, and so on. And then eventually you find out what works and what doesn't work. So you have to become the author of your own body, of your own diet. You know, I'm giving you the basics on how to discover yourself, basically, how to discover for you what is best for you. Because we are all different, like snowflakes. We all got holes, we all got damage, and most of us could be beautiful. And I don't mean beautiful physically, I mean beautifully spiritual. Swindlers are not people who are capable of being beautiful. Rapists are not capable of being beautiful. I hope you get what I'm talking about. Okay, cheese, same as eggs. I love cheese, but I can't eat it. It blocks me so bad that I have to take so much Senecot and fiber that I wind up with diarrhea, so that's not really a solution. And all bread has to be organic, sourdough, all natural, high fiber. And I think I already mentioned to you, Rudolph is the only one that's safe in Ontario. It's they follow German laws, so their sourdough has no oil, no canola, and no toxic chemicals in it, additives. So I just stick to the one. It's too complicated, all the others. And if it doesn't have all the, if you're in Canada, well, listen, just boycott them all, because, other than Rudolph, because they don't have to give you everything that's on the label. We have no laws here. You know, Health Canada is completely corrupt. And speaking of corruption, I don't know if I mentioned to you, but Monsanto has been purchased by Bayer, and Health Canada has been on the take to Monsanto and has collaborated with the Nazis and fascists to promote chronic illness in Canada. Yeah, that's a fact. Welcome to my world. I'm not proud to be a Canadian. I'm proud to have survived it. But Americans have kept me alive, and I'm 75, and I'm not well, but whatever I have achieved and accomplished, it was all done through Americans. And without them, I wouldn't be alive. Hundreds of thousands of men in the mines wouldn't have gas mask equipment. Firemen wouldn't have equipment. Our military wouldn't have proper equipment, because, yes, the Military Veterans Association in Virginia sent lawyers up to help our people because Canada would not. Pittsburgh MSA donated the masks, and the United States Steelworkers Union fought to get better gas mask equipment into our mines and our smelters. The auto worker industry was the only one that was completely uncooperative. They didn't give a shit. So much for that. But through word of mouth and through a couple of articles in the media and the internet, a lot of the men who work in toxic environments are starting to know now, and the painters and the factory workers, where I lived in Collingwood, they all switched to gas mask equipment. And that was with the help of Americans. The only credit I can take for it is that I promoted it and I got the media to help me. But none of it would have happened if the Americans hadn't have helped me. So God bless Americans. Even the White House helped me. NIDA, FDA, 30 years they've been helping me. National Centers for Disease Control, the U.S. Library of Congress, you name it. I don't care who I've contacted in the United States, everyone has helped me and for free. Originally it was by phone and now it's by internet. I mean, I paid for the phone call, but you know. Okay, so my basic allergy research from 1989 in New York City. I was in a bubble and I broke free of the bubble by some of these some of the allergy information that I got through my research through various groups in the United States. Dust mites maintain 45 degrees or less humidity and they die. At 46 and higher, they breed by the billions. Remove all carpeting. Keep floors clean with white vinegar and baking soda to wash your clothes. Avoid all perfumes and soaps. As your health improves, you may use 100% cotton carpets, but no synthetics, no soap. Wash everything in baking soda. Beauty tip. Like I said, dyes, fine. No ammonia. I bathe in olive oil and baking soda with a bit of apple cider and whatever. A bit messy in the tub, but it sure made a difference on my skin. All those sores and my skin is like very, very nice. People come up to me and touch me and they say, gee, you've got nice skin. Well, I'm 75 and if I've got nice skin, that's why. No soap. I don't go in the sun though, because the heat and sun make me sick. And that's only because of my Parkinsonism disease. But a large amount of sun and heat isn't good for anybody, so I don't care who you are. It's not a good thing. Now, I used to go swimming, but I can't anymore because we now have blue algae, and that's all over North America. Blue algae is everywhere. We have 300 lakes and they're all contaminated. So I had one day this summer that I was able to swim, and not for very long. But because then the blue algae hit. So, you know, if you can go swimming, great. But do try to go where it's not a non-polluted area. In Sudbury, Ramsey Lake is so contaminated you shouldn't ever go near there. I try to go out to Valcarin or find a river because it's free-flowing water. It's usually cleaner, although this year even Cape Real, Whitson River was bad. The whole area was full of blue algae. That's part of global warming, part of pollution, part of everything. Of course, it's not happening, is it? Oh, makes me sound just so stupid. Humans are so stupid, myself included. And yeah, speaking of stupid, you know, the only reason I was swindled is because when I take an attack, I'm like 5 years old. I can't think, I can't read, I can't write, I'm dysfunctional, I'm completely helpless. And Doug McIsaac took complete advantage of that. And my mother was helpless, so my brother took advantage of that, as did my father. And look, our laws were made by criminals for criminals. You need to get that through your head. And it's going to take a long fight before that's ever going to change. I mean, do you know that you can go and put your name on somebody's property in Ontario and in secret and not even notify them? And it's legal? Well, ask yourself why. Well, who brought that in? Not the French, I can tell you. No, that was the British. They brought that law in so that they could take the land from the natives. And they did. And in Ontario, it still exists. And then you have to go to court and you have to fight to get it back. Well, by the time you've paid the lawyers and you've gone through the lawsuit, guess what? You don't get it back. And the police don't consider it criminal. Steal somebody's TV, they'll lay a charge. Steal their friggin' property in their home and their property rights like my brother did to my mother, and the police won't lay a charge because it's not criminal. Yeah, welcome to my world. Anyway, Okay, so no canola, crapola, and follow as strict a diet as I can. Sorry to say that I don't think my website will be available a year from now, so that's why I'm doing this, trying to get it up to YouTube. And even though my body looks pretty good, it's didn't grow on a tree. It's damn hard work. I look old to me, even though my skin appears to be beautiful to some people. They say I look younger. Well, I don't know. Look, I'm an optical illusion. What you see is not what you get in the morning when you wake up with me. Because I was trained as a model, so I can't wear makeup because of the allergies. So I wear colored glasses, and you know, and I wear nice bright colors, and I buy little cheapy glasses from the dollar store with all different colors, and to match what I'm wearing, you know, and then I can look really cool. Yeah, like I can look really good. See what I mean? It's that simple, and I look. Yeah, right. But it's bullshit. I'm in pain, and I'm crippling, and I'm sick as hell, and I've been robbed, and my life sucks. And I live only to save the children. That's it. Bottom line for me, save the children. Okay, enough on that. Bedroom. Bedroom is the most important room. While you sleep, your immune system will weaken. Cover mattress with non-toxic covers. Cheap plastic bleeds toxic petroleum oil into the air you breathe. Biotech activated charcoal filters on while you sleep for breathing difficulties, asthma, etc. Sniff test. If you can smell it, it's toxic. Stable plastic and vinyl carpeting do not smell. Same with clothes. China and India are notorious for using deadly toxic dyes. Sniff it. If you sneeze it, cough it, choke it, it can trigger asthma or so-called allergy attacks. So-called because our government is in the medical dark ages and refuses to admit that we are being poisoned. Acrylic is dangerous for babies' immunity. Its fibers break, trap in their lungs, and such a known can cause sudden death syndrome. Cotton, natural fibers are best. Mold is one of the most deadly toxins on our homes and cars. Keep a light on in the kitchen and bathroom. Wet areas breed mold rapidly, but light kills mold. So keep the light on. I mean, what the heck? It's only a couple of bucks. Their spores are microscopic. You can't see them, and yet they fly about, and they're all over, in the outside, in the inside, in the rainy weather, in the spring, fall, and summer is the worst time for me. It also grows in damp, wet conditions, like in the basements. But not all molds are toxic. Molds in blue cheeses and mushrooms can be a lifesaver. I only use white mushrooms, the brown and portobello, because I don't have availability of any of these exotic mushrooms that some of you people can get that are really, really healthy. But and certainly I'm in no position to learn how to, you know, I'm not well long enough to become an expert so that I can go pick my own. So I just got to play it safe. But for the rest of you, yeah, there's some great mushrooms out there. And but molds in basements can kill you. Dripping pipes and faucets create a paradise for mold spores and a death sentence to children. Do not cover cement walls that are seeping water. That makes the mold grow worse. Get a contractor to do it right. Wear a gas mask or a good painter's filter mask to vacuum and work such as sawing, painting, cleaning. A low immune system compromised by toxins and chemicals, air, food, and water will take 2 years of diligent work, but you can recover. As we have no pollution control laws, driving is hazardous to your health, and you should get a good gas mask providing you're not a smoker. If you're a smoker, get help. We have new drugs now that'll remove your addiction in just 3 weeks. Ask your pharmacist or your doctor. Okay, chemical hypersensitivities, toxic shock syndrome, or so-called allergy attacks. If you and 100 people eat arsenic, 1 may die, 8 may get sick, and seemingly recover but remain weak for the rest of their lives, and 1 may appear to be okay. And then all of a sudden become mentally deficient. But they're not allergic. They have been poisoned, people. As a society, we are being poisoned. So when you take an allergic attack, or you, like me, go into toxic shock syndrome and you paralyze or cripple, do the following. Do not lie down. My Dan knows what to do. He gets me to my feet. Okay. Do not lie down. The attack will reduce if you walk, pace, keep your body moving. It'll induce adrenaline. And use an ice pack at the base of your head and neck if you can. You can control most of these attacks by knowing what the causes are from, preventing and keeping your body moving. And no matter how painful, keep moving and breathe as much clean, fresh air as possible. I have an activated charcoal air filter that Dan puts on for me. Sometimes I only open my window very late at night, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning when there's no traffic, and then I put a fan on and I clean out the air inside the room as much as I can. And I drive in a gas mask. And then I get out of town and I go where there's clean air, and then even if I can't walk, okay? I couldn't walk yesterday. Dan took me to Moonlight Beach and I went on the swings, and I just swing. I did the same thing in Collingwood. But Collingwood was wonderful. Those people really cared about me, and I had a good life there. Of course, I had to rescue my mother from my brother, so I sacrificed everything to rescue her. And made a mess of my life, but what can I do? I have not in me, I haven't got it in me to abandon a sick person like my mother. No, not sick physically. I've never had a day in my life as strong as she is, but she's sick in the head, addicted to men and dysfunctional in their thinking. And don't even want to go there. That's a whole other issue for another time. Anyway, yeah, out of 16 children, her mother said to me, I don't know what's wrong with her, Trudy. She's the only one like that. I don't understand her any better than you do. So someday maybe I'll talk about that, but not now. Okay, so why did Monsanto, who made DDT, and they are the makers of chemical warfare, and why do we allow a company like that to control our food industry? Well, because somebody's getting paid off in your government to do it, okay? And Canada is not a democracy. Canadians, it is not a democracy. When one man can call the shots for the entire party, that's not a democracy. You don't even know what a democracy is. I didn't know. We're trained not to know in this country. And Health Canada is omnipotent. They're worse than the Pope. They don't answer to anybody. And they're the most corrupt agency in between Europe and North America. I know I got brain damage. What the hell is your excuse that you just ignore all that? And the media ignored it. You know, what a bunch of Mickey Mouse. I don't know. We got no media left that cares about any real issues and what's happening to people. You know, everything's about money. Everything's about money. I can only wish my disease on the bastards. Okay, why was canola banned in the U.S. until 1994? Well, because the evidence was that when animals were fed it, they got all the symptoms of my disease. Okay? And that is a fact. And the evidence has been removed from the libraries. But it was there. But I have copies of it up on YouTube if anybody's interested, which I don't. So just remember, gas, oil, diesel, ammonia, bleach, DDT, pesticides, to just name a few. It's not carrot juice. And it's not okay to drink it, and it's not okay to smell it. And when you smell something, biochemically, you are drinking in the microscopic molecules of the toxin through your mouth, through your skin, and into your body. Get the picture? Not a good one. Toxic chemicals affect everybody. Some get cancer, some die. Countless suffer. Millions chronically ill, while too many are housebound, forgotten, ignored. I choose not to be housebound. I choose to wear a gas mask instead. I'm going to go down friggin' fighting. This is the end of my section 1. This is the diet for disease control. Help to reverse brain damage and or prevent, but usually nobody bothers to prevent. It's when you're already in the fray of trying to survive. This is what's going to save your butt. Now, rapeseed oil, never mind RAPE, that Chinese have been on it for thousands of years. Okay, I've already been there. Forget it. There is nothing healthy about that garbage. So, for now, that's it. I'm done. And I hope that maybe I can get through the rest and get it all up on YouTube.